There's deck list here. It is Zachary Keeney. We watched him quite a lot yesterday on coverage. Cool, calm, collected, and very precise in his decisions. This omniscience list, excuse me, has been really fun to watch. And if you like combo, well, this is going to be right up your alley. Reed, give us a quick breakdown of this deck if anyone in the audience is unfamiliar with it.
Azorius Omniscience is a combo deck where the core strategy is you would like to put Omniscience, that 10 mana enchantment, into the graveyard. You're not casting that. You're not tapping 10 lands to cast it. The idea is you either discard it, say off Roiling Dragonstorm, or dump it directly into your graveyard with a Surveil, a Moment of Truth, whatever it might be. Then you use Abuelo's Awakening to return it to the battlefield as a 1/1 creature, at which point your density of card drawing, the ability to bounce cards back to your own hand with Meringue River Regent, eventually allows you to just churn through your library and assemble an immediate win combo by repeatedly bouncing and recasting Founding the Third Path to mill your opponent out.
Pretty gross. Let's take a look at the opponent's list here. This is Jesse Pylan's Jund Roots deck. Jund! Awesome. Our players are ready to rock and roll, so a quick overview, Reed, of what this deck is trying to do.
The Jund Roots deck is a graveyard-centered deck. The namesake card is Insidious Roots. So this is an enchantment that's going to pay you off every time you basically take any action related to your graveyard. You're going to make a series of plants. They're going to generate tons of mana. They're going to grow bigger. You're going to flood the board. We've seen Jesse. Well, actually, Ailey, you and I have not watched Jesse on camera yet, but I know Corey and Jim did a few times. They were really excited about this deck. Makes for really crazy battlefields and some fun games, we hope.
All right. Well, let's go have some fun with some Jund stuff, friends. Let's jump on down now. Zachary Keeney up against Jesse Pyland, who will be victorious in this matchup. It looks like Zach is trying to do like mind tricks at Jesse, like, do not draw Insidious Roots.
I saw Jesse had laid out a unfortunately small hand of cards there. I couldn't tell if it was multi 6 or 5, but he's starting with that slight disadvantage.
But Llanowar Elves, turn 1. Reed, what could go wrong?
Llanowar Elves is a great start, especially if the Omniscience deck is one of the decks in the format that's not just going to burn your elf right away. You know, there's a lot of Burst Lightnings and Torch the Towers and Cut Downs running around, but there's a matchup where the elves can actually survive.
Yeah. Tyvar Jubilant Brawler, the Planeswalker, 3 mana. Activate abilities of critters as though they had haste, so that's pretty sweet. Able to untap a creature, so a good way to accelerate yourself even further, and also a good way to mill things. So Tyvar, a great machine, or a great way to fuel the strategy here for Jesse.
So what happened there was Jesse activated the -2 ability of Tyvar, turned over a Haywire Might, had the option to return it to the battlefield, and chose not to. So I don't know exactly what his plan is, but for some reason valuing that creature being in the graveyard, perhaps for some kind of future Insidious Roots, Delirium, whatever it might be.
Agatha's Soul Cauldron. It's a good ingredient for some soup.
That is a nice one. That could set him up well to deal with enchantments like, say, Temporary Lockdown, like, say, Omniscience.
And the more critters you have with that ability, Agatha's Soul Cauldron, reading, this is not verbatim, but if any of your creatures have a counter on it, whatever is exiled under Agatha's Soul Cauldron, your creatures with counters on them have that ability as well. So anything that gets a counter now is going to be able to blow stuff up. That's a really sweet card.
Yeah, and in addition to the way it supports your own game plan and bolsters your own creatures, it's also a targeted graveyard hate card where it can exile Zachary's Omniscience in response to Abuelo's Awakening. So not a total coincidence here that Zachary is repeatedly surveilling Abuelo's Awakening, ostensibly his most important card in the deck to cast. He's just bidding them to the graveyard because he's not optimistic that he's going to be able to fight through that onboard graveyard hate and actually combo.
Yeah.
So more precisely, Zachary has not taken any actions this game. He has not cast a single spell yet.
No, he's just sitting, waiting to find an answer for Agatha's Soul Cauldron, because like you mentioned, he can't really do what he wants to while that's sitting on the board. Curious Forages now joins the board here, joins the battlefield. Get to bring things back from your yard. It's a cute little card. I don't think I've actually ever seen this card before. Certainly haven't played it.
A lot of the cards in Jesse's deck you have not seen before, not seen in a long time. It's kind of a hodgepodge of
cute
various
critters.
like unspectacular cards that just happen to support the strategy really, really, really well.
Yeah. And who doesn't love a good squirrel, you know? Bloomborough, another excellent set from the past year. So do love to see it making some moves here. But does Jesse have the nuts, as it were, to get this game over and done with? Haha, got him. Oh, Rebel Belt Maverick. Another odd little one drop, but a pretty good exile effect activated ability.
I've been a little quiet, Ailey. Zachary is not giving me much to discuss here. I mean, I think it's a combination of an awkward draw plus the inability to take any meaningful action against the Agatha Soul Cauldron. But yeah, he just hasn't played any spells, has not really taken any meaningful steps towards setting up his combo or interacting with what Jesse's up to.
Yeah.
If he has, say, an end of turn Meringue River Regent Omen, then he can develop a little bit. Yeah, coil and catch, exactly. Temporary Lockdown, really strong as that does hit most of the important permanents on Jesse's side of the battlefield. Jesse now prepared for it with the Haywire Might and, of course, the Soul Cauldron.
Oh, we're doing something. Temporary Lockdown on the stack. Haywire Might says, nah. So that takes care of that. Another Haywire Might in the bin.
Jesse, just a little nitpick, he did tap a Swamp for that, which clearly he has no shortage of green mana available. But
well, every nitpick counts in highly competitive environments, so good to keep track of your mana and make sure you can pay for the spells you want to cast. As it stands, Jesse is kind of just playing by himself. You know, he's had to do one thing to stop Zachary from ruining his fun. And now we're going to see Tyvar activate the Rebel Belt Maverick and get in for some action. Some damage here. Down to 8 goes Zachary Keeney. Board wipe. Mayhaps. No roots as of yet. So we haven't even seen that part of the game plan from Jesse. It's just been small critter beatdown, huh?
Right, but that's kind of just what the doctor is ordering in this game where Zachary doesn't have much. Okay, but now finally we have a game where both players get to participate.
Yeah.
Zachary finds stock up, which is going to deliver some action to his hand, let him start working towards perhaps not a combo, but at least just an interactive game. We've talked about how this Omniscience deck is really effective at playing Azorius control when it has the right weapons available. But I wonder if it's going to be just a little bit too late. 8 is not a high life total, and Jesse has worked towards putting together a pretty resilient battlefield with multiple different permanent types contributing to his board presence.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of damage coming through. It's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far? Can be a 7th with Agatha Soul Cauldron putting a counter on something else. And then does Tyvar put a counter on something?
Well, he can untap, put another counter with the Soul Cauldron, so he can represent a lethal attack. We know Zachary has cards like Ifara's Dispersal, so very possible he could have an Insta-Speed piece of interaction. Also possible that he just had a miserable draw and he's going to pack him up here, so I'm not sure. Notably, Tyvar grants haste for activated abilities, but not for attacking.
Yeah, it's kind of like a, yeah, sure, you can go, but don't. It's basically he's given the creature's defender. Osteomancer Adept on the board now and able to activate straight away thanks to Tyvar. Hello, this is us in the booth. We're going back to the board here. And now we have a snarling Gorehound. Looks to be joining the fray here.
This is
that
enabled
exile?
by Osteomancer
Yes.
Adept.
That representing the finality counter that it gives it.
That's right, yeah. So this is basically giving you an activated ability to do what players of other formats might be familiar with Underworld Breach doing. It's like you get to exile 3 cards in your graveyard to cast a creature for as long as the ability is in effect.
Nice.
Again, no haste in terms of attacking, but just generating an awful lot of value here.
Yeah. Molt Tender. Another great way to mill yourself. Introduced in Ether Drift. Mill a card. Can also add some extra mana for you. So, yeah, plenty going on here for Jesse.
You might be watching at home and saying, hey, Reed and Ailey said that Jesse can attack for 8 by using Agatha's Soul Cauldron to put another counter on. Why isn't the game over? Well, Jesse really doesn't want to tap the Agatha's Soul Cauldron unless he's positive he's going to win, because what that would mean is that Zachary could then set up the immediate win Omniscience combo. The last thing you want to do at 10-2 deep into a tournament is get your opponent down to 1 or 2 life and then go, oops, accidentally I died. So that's why it's good to be sort of like circumspect, prepare for all the different outcomes, not be hasty in terms of smelling blood and just going for a win.
Yeah,
but
he
as
had
it
it.
turns out, Jesse had it and Zachary did not have it. So
Yeah.
no instant speed defense there, and really just
Wow.
a situation where he didn't get to take a lot of meaningful actions in that game based on both the way his draw delivered and the way that Agatha's Soul Cauldron may have taken a lot of wind out of his sails.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the best situation for Zachary in that last attack would have been, okay, bounce the lethal attacker, and then somehow manage to discard 2 Omniscience to have a chance in that matchup.
Really, it would have required removing the Soul Cauldron from the battlefield because Abuelo's Awakening has to target something in the graveyard. So as long as the Cauldron's sitting there untapped, it can just always fizzle the combo.
Yeah, true.
And I really liked how Jesse was really thoughtful in managing his Haywire Mites, knowing that one of Zachary's primary ways to get the Cauldron off the battlefield is temporary lockdown.
Yes. Sideboard time now, so hopefully post-board things get better here for Zachary Keeney and Zachary Keeney fans. What do you think is going to be the most impactful in this matchup for Zach?
Boy, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but Clarion Conqueror has a really meaningful line of text.
For the first time, besides being a 3/3.
For the first time, yeah. I remember experiencing in older formats, I think it was called Linvala, Bearer of Silence.
Oh, I hated Linvala. Everyone hates her.
Everyone hates Linvala, yeah, especially us honest green mages. But the line of text that I'm referencing is shutting off activated abilities of creatures. So that means no Llanowar Elves, no Molt Tenders, basically no shenanigans.
Yeah.
And Jesse's deck is all shenanigans, 100% shenanigans. So Clarion Conqueror is, I think, there sort of more as just a solid value creature, a 3/3 dragon that can block effectively, return your Roiling Dragonstorms. But here Zachary has kind of stumbled into an accidental hate card that can be really effective against Jesse. So I think that's one to look for. In general, other than that, it's going to be like rounding things out here and there. And I think both of the decks, their primary game plan is still going to be applicable even after sideboarding.
Well, looking forward to seeing how this shakes out. And if you are looking forward to future events, future sales, future whatever it is that Star City Games is up to, be sure to sign up for their newsletter. You can get all the information on the latest sets, get more info on SCG Con Indianapolis happening at the end of this month, and learn all about the flash sales. There's one going on right now, BT Dubs, so if you want to get 10% off singles, then go buy your cards, because deals are good and we like discounts. Right, so Jesse's side of things. I really like just the cards in the sideboard. then again, I'm a little biased because I like this color combination. So I see things like Disruptive Stormbrood, and I'm like, ooh, yes, I like this dragon. This is probably my favorite one from Tarkir Dragonstorm, to be honest. But, Canker Bloom, too, an excellent way to remove artifacts and enchantments. I don't know if any of these are actually going to be brought in, but hey, they're fun. And we saw the Swarm Weaver in one of Jim and Corey's rounds doing some great work for Jesse.
If you want an excuse to play with a lot of sweet and unusual cards, this Jund Roots deck is a good excuse to find yourself in that position.
Yeah. Represent the most underrepresented colors here this weekend in black and green. And when in doubt, Jund them out.
Do you want to know something interesting?
Always.
Coming into this matchup, I would have said Zachary was going to be a heavy favorite. I was like, hey, I'm really excited to see this Jund Roots deck. It's done some cool things on camera. We're all really rooting for Jesse and his unusual brew. And he has run into the nightmare matchup because you think of this as sort of like a value deck, flood the board, put a lot of creatures on the ground. That's going to be really effective against people who are trying to attack and block. Really ineffective against someone who's just assembling a turn 4 I win combo. That's what I would have said.
Yeah.
However, seeing the way that first game played out, Jesse was able to assemble a pretty resilient team. He shrugged off the temporary lockdowns like they were nothing. He had the built-in graveyard hate where he wasn't really threatened by Zachary's combo. So I want to see what happens when Zach has a little bit more of a competitive draw. But generally, that game one really subverted my expectations, and I'm impressed with how Jesse has
taken advantage entirely. And
exactly.
to put it bluntly, in a way my 2-year-old would understand, Zachary's hand was doo-doo butts the entire time. So he just didn't have anything going. He was just a non-active participant in that first game. So hopefully Jesse is in for a bit more of a fight. Kicking things off real nice here. Chucking Omniscience in the bin, courtesy of Roiling Dragonstorm. So we are en route for a turn 4 combo win, provided Jesse has nothing to say about it. We can't say naughty words on broadcast. See, it's the same as talking to a toddler. Oh, okay. What do we got here? Dredger's Insight. Nice. Enchantment. This one, I believe, mills you at the beginning of each upkeep. A one-off.
Mills you up front, and then every time a creature leaves your graveyard, you get to gain life, which is really effective once you start getting things like Molt Tender going, Overlord of the Bale Merc. Not the most important matchup for life gain, but some of the other opponents that Jesse has undoubtedly faced over the course of the weekend, picking up those extra points of life can be quite meaningful.
Sure can. Turn 3 now. Zachary is going to see an Ooze.
Scavenging Ooze, one of my favorite cards.
Scroll Shift in response. Roiling Dragonstorm. Exit and enter. Draw. Chuck. Do we have a second copy of Omniscience? No. So, that gets got. Unfortunate for Zachary, so he's going to have to find plan B here. There's another Roiling Dragonstorm. Does he find an answer for Scooz? Another Meticulous Archive. That's going to sit on top. And the turn passes back. Ooze survives. I love me a good 2-drop that just messes with your opponent's graveyard.
Scavenging Ooze doesn't get a lot of attention in Standard lately, but I've played a lot with this card in a variety of different contexts, and what I will say is when it sticks on the battlefield, it has a very large impact on the game. Every graveyard synergy, shutdown, life gain often turns into the biggest creature on the battlefield. It enables the Insidious Roots all by itself. So things going pretty nicely for Jesse, but perhaps a shields down moment.
Dredger's Insight number 2 hits the board alongside Insidious Roots, so he's able to bring something back from his yard, gain a couple of life there, and we get a plant. We're gardening.
And again, Zachary just passing the turn with no play.
Oof. I'm going to assume that this wasn't a matchup Zachary had top of mind. So is it a factor of not having the tools to deal with what Jesse's up to, barring the Clarion Conqueror?
I think it's just a factor of not having any tools at all. Like, think about so many of the cards in Zachary's deck. He would have loved to play Stock up there. He would have loved to play Temporary Lockdown. You know, he would have loved his Clarion Conqueror off the sideboard. That would have returned the 2 Roiling Dragonstorms. It could be that his hand in both games was just really reliant on the combo, and because he's been unable to execute the combo, he hasn't really had much else to work with.
Yeah. So if he did have the combo in hand, I'm guessing one of the cards is Abuela's Awakening, which is doing nothing right now. A Temporary Lockdown would be fantastic with the current board state.
I thought that was going to be, you know, what we were going to see, and then it would be, the game would turn into a question of whether Jesse could find a disenchant effect in a timely fashion. But no, Zachary doesn't even have that.
I think this is the first time I've seen Zachary like visibly stressed out. So just before the game 2 started, he like kind of did the flex and try and shake off whatever nerves he had, all the anxious energy. So hopefully we'll see a rally here from Zachary.
So now we see the Insidious Roots beginning to pop off. This is the type of card that your first trigger is nice and peachy, but it really starts to snowball once you've triggered it multiple times. The plants become enormous threats. You have more mana to work with to trigger it more and more. So very snowball-y, impressive card when it goes unchecked.
Superb gardening skills here from Jesse. There's a comedian whose joke I'll always remember. He's talking about, you know, what retired life is like. And he does this whole long spiel, but then basically it's gardening, 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 death. And that's kind of what I feel like Zachary's going to experience soon. Oh boy. You like counters? I got counters for you, man. This is like seeing Avenger of Zendikar hit the board.
Yeah, no kidding. Build your own Avenger of Zendikar.
Yeah.
No lands needed. No 7-drops needed. So this is where the deck is just like humming on all cylinders. The Tyvar granting haste, which these plant tokens are able to produce mana. Haste was really meaningful with the Osteomancer, enabling more value, more triggers of Insidious Roots, keeping in mind that the Scavenging Ooze can be activated from the mana generated from the untapped plants. So this is not a shields down moment, even if Zachary has, say, end of turn coil and catch.
Oh, my goodness me. Big chunk of damage there going Zachary's way. So down to 12. Digging, 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 trying to find something to help him out in this situation. What can he find? Something. Okay, stock up. That was a lockdown in hand there. Does that do anything right now? Is there any way to kill that?
Not showing on the battlefield. So this is going to be a lot about if the lockdown can survive.
Oh boy.
But you flagged Cankerbloom as a card that Jesse might be bringing in. Let's see. We already know about Haywire Might ×2.
Just tapping everything. Like, cool. I'm just going to eat your graveyard. Gib. All right. So temporary reprieve here for Zachary Keeney. Everything. Goodness, how many permanents was that? That's got to be a record, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not including the tokens. That's a lot of permanents under there. All right. Looking better here for Zach. Jesse untaps. Can we find a piece of enchantment removal to continue his nonsense? Yes, Cankerbloom. Hey, bud.
The good news for Zachary is it's going to free up his own Roiling
Yes.
Dragonstorms to be able to sculpt his draw even more. So still challenging to try to combo off, but he could just find another temporary lockdown to do the whole dance all over again. Let's keep in mind the haste granted by Tyvar. So what Jesse might want to do if he's worried about a second copy of temporary lockdown is use the Osteomancer Adept to put the Cankerbloom back onto the battlefield. Basically set himself up with some mana, a Cankerbloom, a Scavenging Ooze. That's going to protect him against a lot of the angles Zachary could attack from. But he is going to need one more turn before he can actually turn these creatures sideways and attack.
2 Overlords milled there. That's a good one to get back. That also gets other things back for you, so... Well, it's like nothing happened. He fogged an attack for 1 turn, did Zachary, but Jesse is right back at it. Goodness me. This list looks sweet.
So Jesse's position here, it's not, there's no infinite combo going on, but it's like a self-propelling engine, a snowball rolling down a hill, because the more graveyard-related actions he can take, the more he generates plants, which have the haste ability to tap for mana. Using the Osteomancer Adept, he can return cards like Overlord of the Balemerc, which then fuel more cards in the graveyard to cast more creatures. So, you know, when does it end? And the answer, more or less, is it ends whenever Jesse wants to pass the turn. I don't believe he can win. I don't believe there's okay, there is maybe some shenanigans he could put together with Voldaren Thrillseeker and Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I don't know how practical it is to win from this position here.
I think is one of the ways when you're in a situation like this. I believe Voldaren is the thing you're looking for with the Cauldron, because all of these little idiots are going to get counters on them and can go and essentially blow up Zach. So that is gross and cool, and I love it. Snarling Gorehound also doing a great job of impersonating Guardian Project. Whenever these creatures enter, he gets more draws, more mills. Man, talk about value. Ooh, there's a Cauldron. Yes, yes. Good, good.
So I guess the idea is the 1 copy of Curious Forager is there to facilitate the 1 copy of Soul Cauldron. So let's, you know, shortcut the world.
Yep. There we go. Zachary's seen enough.
Speaking of shortcuts, that's Zachary conceding. You know, the players get to communicate. Jesse knows his deck better than either of us do in the booth. I think he was just kind of explaining that Zach's not going to get another turn.
No.
And or he's going to be prepared enough for temporary lockdown and the Omniscience combo that there's